We will call this May 18th Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Pfeiffer, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi, Ross.
First thing on the agenda, we have the approval of the agenda.
Move it.
Second. Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton, to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jeanette, we have the first reading of the rezone ordinances.
Okay, we have 5. I'll start with Ordinance 191, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Revision Brown County Ordinances is amended to rezone certain described property filed by Scott K. and Frost to change the zoning from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District. Campa Outlot A of Campa Outlot A in the Northwest Quarter Section 31, Township 123 North, Range 61 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 13556 400th Avenue.
I'll move it.
Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Pfeiffer, to approve first reading of rezone 191. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance 192, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Revision Brown County Ordinances as amended to rezone certain described property filed by Scott Rosell to change the zoning from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District, Lot 1 LB Addition in the northeast quarter of Section 1-Township 121 North, Range 65 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 14201 382nd Avenue.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Kipley, to approve the first reading of rezone 192 into Mini Ag. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance 193, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Revision Brown County Ordinances is amended to rezone certain described property filed by Ed Mensinger to change the zoning from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.14 Highway Commercial District, west 1/2 of the east, 32 rods of the south, 20 rods lying north of the south, 50 of the southwest quarter of Section 15-Township 123 North, Range 63 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 5405 East, Highway 12.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley, to approve the first reading of rezone ordinance 193. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance 194, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Revision Brown County Ordinances as amended to rezone certain described property filed by Bill Kirschenman to change the zoning from Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District to Chapter 4.16 Heavy Industrial District.
What's that?
Lot A, Outlet Number 1, Winter Outlets in the north, half of Section 22T 453 North, Range 64 West, except right-of-way of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 627385 Avenue South.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Sutton, to approve the first reading of rezone 194. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Ordinance 195, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances is amended to rezone certain described property filed by Cayman Equipment from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.14 Highway Commercial District, Lot 1 and 2, Cayman First Subdivision, in the southwest quarter of Section 23, Township 122 North, Range 64 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 13980 and 13998 386th Avenue.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Sutton, to approve the first reading of rezone 195. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item, we have Tom Croymans with the Veterans Memorial Center regarding that. Come forward, Tom.
Thank you. Again, it was the prospectus
Thank you.
project.
They're all signed, right?
For this one? That's good.
Thank you.
I'll leave one. What I'd like to do is read a letter that we have submitted to, we'll submit today to the commission, and then talk about our project, just highlight a few points, and then save the rest of the time for any questions that you might have in discussion. I know we just have a few minutes. So, dear Brown County Commissioners, the purpose of this letter is to ask for your financial support in the amount of $300,000 towards the construction of the Aberdeen Area Memorial Veterans Center, sponsored by the Aberdeen Area Veterans Incorporated, or AAVI. The AAVI consists of the 4 local veteran service organizations, the VFW, the American Legion, the 40 and 8, and the Marine Corps League. It has long been their goal to construct a facility that meets the needs of the 4 groups, most importantly, to enable the AAVI to provide to all veterans and their families in Brown County and the surrounding area an array of much-needed services ranging from suicide prevention to financial planning. The AAVI has already secured seed money and is in the process of purchasing 6 acres of land on Roosevelt Street. The plans for the 19,000-plus square foot building are complete. The facility will serve as a hub for veteran-related activities and provide those organizations with programs and services for veterans, a venue in which they will have enhanced access to those they serve. The center will also house a war memorial and a museum to inform and educate the public and our youth in these significant civic matters. The Veterans Memorial Center will serve not only as a resource for the nearly 5,000 veterans residing in Brown County, but also serve those in the northeast region of the state and many in the southeast of North Dakota. Additionally, we hope to agree in principle with the Commission to relocate the Veteran County Service Officer to this new facility. The details of this arrangement would be best addressed in a written document such as a memorandum of agreement or something to that effect. This could be accomplished at a later date. There are other benefits provided by this facility that are too numerous to mention in the letter, so we provided or attached the Common Ground Campaign prospectus for your information. Your investment in this endeavor will have a long-lasting and positive effect on the lives of those who have served, their families, and the entire county population by improving the quality of life in Brown County. That's our proposal. Some of the highlights of the facility. Well, first I want to thank. I didn't want to thank you for giving us the time to be able to be here and discuss this with you. This is a big deal to us, and so we really appreciate that. The AAVI consists of those 4 veteran service organizations. Right now, none of them have a place of their own to conduct their business. They use several facilities around the community to do that, and so that's one of the purposes. The other purpose is to provide those veteran services that I talked about. There's going to be a nonprofit side to this where we will bring in, we envision having a calendar that, a monthly calendar that one week we might bring in somebody to talk about suicide prevention. The next week might be somebody from the VA to talk about VA benefits. The next one might be TRICARE. And on and on. There are just a number of organizations out there that have programs and services for veterans, but part of the problem is they have a hard time reaching them. So we see this as an opportunity to create a one-stop shop for veterans services and for those entities or organizations that provide those services to come together. And that's one of the other reasons that we would like to see the Veteran County Service Officer out there eventually too. And we've, in the floor plan, we've provided space for that. But like I said, I think that's, if we could just agree in principle at some point that would be a good thing to do. we could always work out the details of that later, because there would be more to that, obviously. There's, so, and it's gonna be a regional facility. It's not just, this isn't just an Aberdeen facility. We've been reaching out to all the other VFWs and legions in the county, and we plan to, and we'll go beyond Brown County a little bit too, to touch base with those folks, let them know what we're doing here, that that facility will be available to them and their members. And this isn't just for, you don't have to be a member of the VFW or the Elite or the American Legion or any one of these four veteran service organizations to take advantage of what is going to be going on here. So there's nearly, upwards of 5,000 veterans in the county alone, and each and every one of them would be able to take advantage of this facility or the programs that we'll offer on the nonprofit side. And we will offer those at little or no cost to the veterans. So we'll have ongoing fundraising once the building is up and operating. That'll be a continuous thing, and that fundraising portion of it will be used for those programs. So that's our business plan is we've been working on this business plan for quite a while, and the projected income, it'll have facilities in there that we'll be able to rent to have. You could have a wedding dance or that kind of thing in there, so there's space, meeting space that we can use for rentals, and there'll be a lounge there too, and so that'll our estimates show that our income will be more than our expenses. So we set it up so that it's not going to fail. Instead of each one of these organizations trying to keep a building of their own open before the pooled resources, and it's going to be easier for four of them to support one building than four of them supporting four buildings. So that's the other piece of this. And then it'll house a museum and a war memorial, which is something that we really don't have. We've got some smaller memorials around the community and in the county, but this one will serve as a focal point and an educational resource for not only the public, but a fourth grade teacher could bring his or her class to this facility and do a field trip and teach them those civic lessons about what it means to why we were in all the wars that we were, and what our democracy is, what freedom means, and those sorts of things. So we see it as an educational benefit to the county as well.
Tell us who you brought with you, Tom. Tell us who you brought with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got Sean Johnson, he's the president of the AAVI, and Tim Even, he's a board member of the AAVI, and Alan Oshner, he's also on the AAVI, and he's my co-chair for fundraising.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. I'd like to make a comment, if I may.
Sure.
I just want to say that we're working with the Hudson Canteen, which was located at the depot out here, and we're making a place for them so that tradition can be extended, because that's a dying factor, and it's great nationally known. It's nationally known because there's a lot of people came through there, and it's right here from Aberdeen. So.
Now you talked about how you already secured,
Sure.
how you already secured seed money. Can you talk a little bit about where you're at and who's already contributing into this?
We've got about upwards of $200,000 in cash and pledges, and that's come from, we've established a committee of 17 people that are, once the campaign is kicked off, they're veterans that are going to do the solicitations for donations. And between that group and the VFW and the American Legion, we have almost $200,000, and so we've been using that money to make the land payments. So far we have 2 payments a year that we make $15,000 a year for So it's $30,000 a year that we're paying on the land, and then we'll do that for a number of years, and then have a balloon payment at the end. So.
How many year notice up?
5 years, Sean, on the land? 4.
5 bedrooms.
So the total project cost is,
5.2 million. 5.2. On page 5. Yeah. And we just recently got an estimate from our architect, HKG, here in town. They've done the plans for the building, and we just had them update the estimate. And the estimate came to 5,160, but the way things are going now, and, you know, we're probably 2 or 3 years from construction, depending on how the fundraising goes. When we get to 75 to 80% of the 5.2, we'll break ground, and so hopefully that'll go sooner than
Right.
later.
well, we'll be starting our budget for 2022 here shortly. We go through the summer, we have the preliminary approved by August, first weekend in August.
Okay.
The tough thing is, it seems like there's a lot of money coming down from the federal government, but nothing that we can use for projects like this. There's a lot of strings on it.
Sure.
We'd have to find it from some existing.
Yeah.
You run this facility, what are you thinking you're gonna have for people running this facility? These offices, are these gonna be all associated with the veterans, or are they gonna be?
They'll be associated with the 4 veteran service organizations that are part of the AABI, and then there'll be the Veteran County Service Officer, and I'm not sure if we have an extra office built into that right now or not, but that's the primary purpose of the office.
How do you attribute your annual funds to, like, you get the building up and stuff, and you got the electricity, and you got janitors and stuff. How do your funds come available to sustain this building in the future? I guess that's my question.
Yeah. Well, in our business plan, we have part of the revenues are going to come from the rental space in the event area there, and there's a gap for this size of event space in Aberdeen from our studies. It's smaller. It's about a 300 and less event type of facility, and so from the studies that we've seen, there's a gap there. So we have projections on rental space, and there'll be we're going to call it the canteen lounge. There'll be a lounge in, so we'll generate funds from that and as well. So those are the 2 things that are going to pay for the utilities, pay for the snow removal lawn, those kinds of things. That'll operate the building. Like I mentioned earlier, there's about a 10% differential. Projected revenues are going to be about, the expenses will be about 85 to 90% of revenue. And then on the nonprofit side of it, that will come from grants and fundraising activities that will provide these other services. Full-time staff will have a manager, a grant writer. Well, the grant writer may be part-time, but we'll have a manager, a couple of maintenance folks working there. I think
10 to 12.
Yeah, by the time it's all. And those, so we're gonna create a few jobs.
Full-time, and then we'll have probably 4 or 5 part-time.
Yeah, so there'll be some employment there. And all those labor costs are figured into the business plans as part of the expense.
Question. You folks had approached the appropriations in Pier.
Yes.
What excuse did they give you for not funding, or what roadblocks did you run into?
Well,
two major roadblocks were, I believe, they didn't want to have to fund anybody else's request
Didn't want
of
to
the
set
site. They said if we fund yours, then we gotta fund everybody else's request that comes down the pipeline later on.
So, yeah, so their concern was, and we got this from the governor's office as well, was that if we fund your project, then every other VFW or American Legion that comes in here looking for money, we're gonna set a precedence, and then we'll start going down that road, and they didn't wanna do that. The other problem that, and it was kinda interesting, but one of the legislators on the Joint Appropriations Committee was concerned about video lottery. We're gonna have video lottery, and that's part of our business plan. It's a state sanctioned program and that sort of thing, but they had one gentleman had an issue with that as well. And his point was that, well, this gambling causes addictions and it causes social problems and things like that. And you're trying to fix that, so he saw it as somewhat of a contradiction. But then on the other hand, if we didn't have that ability, we couldn't address these
One of the
issues
other
either.
things-
So you can argue it either way. But
One of the other things was, Sioux Falls they said, well, Sioux Falls put up a similar type thing on their own, and they didn't get any state money. Well, what they didn't consider was Sioux Falls put up a facility, but they had 17 people that put up $1 million each and asked the VFW and the American Legion to put in $1 million to put the facility up in Sioux Falls. So it really wasn't the same type of facility because it's kind of privately established.
it's the
And
old,
that one is established, this one would be established, and there's one in Rapid City. So pretty much the whole state would be covered. So there's no reason to be concerned that any other area would come up with, oh, we need a facility in our area, because the areas of South Dakota would be covered, is what we presented to them. But in their mind, they said, well, all these local VFWs and legions will want to put a center up. And that is not the case.
and we're unique in the sense that the four veteran service organizations have all come together to do this as one. That's not the case in Sioux Falls, nor in Rapid City, or in any other location. So we're very unique in that sense too, that we're pooling efforts and resources to make this happen.
Has there been any research done by the group at all as far as if other states, I mean, like Nebraska or North Dakota, does the state help in these types of facilities? Has there been any?
This is everybody's got their eye on this. Everybody in the nation's got their eye on this to see if this will go.
So in other words, it's not been in, how can I say it, in history or in past that the states have stepped up and helped these organizations.
Yeah,
Maybe have in other ways, but not particularly for construction of a building, maybe?
Correct.
Yeah, we've not done that research to that extent to know that another state has put money into a building for it.
And I'm guessing that would be unique for us too. I don't remember ever.
Yeah.
We've done like kind gifts, but never cash that I know of. But I've only been here 8 years, Do you guys remember a time when the county funded?
Well, I know the Boys and Girls Club, they do the concessions or got access to the concessions under the grandstands for the county's share of the funding but I don't think we put...
But that's for anybody now. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
can put in for that.
Right. In the same way with the BMX bike, we do gave them some land or something there with that, but other than that, I don't recall.
Ever giving cash to them.
No.
So it would be setting a precedent for us too if we decide to do it. It would be new.
The ask, is that a one-time ask, or is that an annual budget coming to the commission each year asking
No.
for that? It's just a one-time ask, is it? Okay. Well, I definitely agree that it'd be unique and it'd be great to have a facility like that. I think it's very much needed for all veterans. You know, it's just a big undertaking for the size of the community we're at. I understand Rapid and Sioux Falls has a much bigger advantage than what we have. You know, it's like, I think Dennis and Rachel hit it, it'd be a new precedent for us to all of a sudden come up and, because you know what happens, it's much like the state says, well, if we do it for you, how many other 30, 40 people are going to go in and say, well, you did it for the veterans, why can't you do it for us? Why can't you do it for that? And that's what happens, and it's a bad situation for you to be in, but it also puts us in a bad situation if we decide to do that, and that's why it's awkward to make that work. I guess, you know, it's kind of uncharted territory for us to be able to go up and say, hey, we're going to contribute this, and I can just see what the floodgates would do.
I'm sure
Well,
you deal with all the issues in the county.
Yeah, and the other big thing with county government too is we're limited to 3% of the cost of living, whichever is less, plus new growth. And that's a pretty big thumb on the county, the size of Brown County. And all of in history, all of this, serving on these commissions and being out in the state legislature, kind of it's all about economic development in South Dakota. And even this facility you're talking about, no doubt in my mind, would create sales tax revenue instantly. The minute the doors are open, and the county gets no sales tax revenue. And that's a hard pill for county government to swallow in South Dakota because we're so dependent on property tax, and only 20 to 25% of that property tax to begin with, because the schools get about 55 to 65% of it. So it makes it hard it'd be easier for the city to step up with sales tax money to help you folks than it is for the county.
And we've approached them too.
What about the current building? The current Legion building, is that still functioning and is it closed? Okay, what about the VS? Do we have building now? There's nothing right now. So when we did Burger Night and all that, you were just using the city lights or Eagle? Didn't there used to be one out west?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that got sold? Or?
About 5 years ago, I think the VFW sold. That was the last one. Legion sold out before that sometime.
So the VFW, it was owned by the group, and when it sold, is that money saved somewhere for this?
No,
that where
not
the-
for this. It belongs to the VFW.
Oh, so they haven't delegated it to go towards us or anything?
They delegated a certain amount.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, VFW is part of that 200,000
Okay.
that they mentioned earlier, and the Legion.
Well, I can remember when the American Legion down here was a big hit. I mean,
Well, we tried to get that back,
Yeah.
but it belongs to a Native American tea company now, and they don't want to sell it. Believe me, I tried. But
And the AABI did an extensive search and assessment of existing facilities in the area, and did an economic analysis on each one of those, and with the amount for what the intended use was, and the amount of renovation and all those factors, economically, there wasn't anything feasible to that we could come up with to move into or acquire. So this was the best solution for us, was to go with the new.
I think it's important to remember that the chunk of the piece of land that we have purchased, we're only using about half of it for this facility. We have another half of it that we could use for other things like homeless vets or anything else that, might be, so we're only using half of it.
Yeah. So we do have room to expand if for some reason we were able to go to the Veterans Administration and get funding from them for an East River Veterans Home, that'd be a big deal too. But that's out there. But at least we'd be able to accommodate something like that should it materialize.
Well, we'll review it, and like I said, we're have to look at the numbers and put it in our 2022 budget. There's nothing we can do this year yet because our budgets are fixed. But I guess that will be a budget discussion for 2022, and we'll see where we're at. Can't make any promises, but I appreciate you coming in, and I understand your concerns, and I think it would be unique, and it'd be a great idea to have it. I just don't know how much you can rely on the county to help you, but I'd be all for it. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see how our budget looks.
We appreciate that. We appreciate everything that the commission does, and know a little bit too about what it's like to serve in public places, and sometimes it can be a thankless job. But thank you for everything that you're doing for us in the county.
Thank you to all of you for your service.
Right. Thank you very much.
Do you want these back?
No, you can keep those, and go and here's another copy of the letter so everybody has their own copies. We can just submit that. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You bet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck fishing.
Yeah.
Luck has nothing to do with it.
Skill, huh? Strictly skill.
How hungry the fish are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next item, we have Mark Nelson, Rural South Dakota, and Kelly Weaver.
Morning, Kelly.
2022 budget request and 2021 report of Grow South Dakota. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us this morning.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, we're here for kind of our annual report of activities in the county and to make a request for next year's budget. Mark has some handouts of kind of an activity sheet for the year and some brochures. And then we've got a folder that we'll leave here that's got some things that can put on bulletin boards or more details on some of the different services that the agency offers. I'm Kelly Weaver. I'm the regional director of the SBDC, which is hosted by Grow South Dakota. And Mark Nelson is a business loan officer with Grow South Dakota and also a part-time small business development center counselor. So in the kind of the other information, you'll see some of the county residents that serve in a variety of capacity of boards under Grow South Dakota. And as you know, we do have an office here in Aberdeen. We did relocate to the new Malchow Plaza in March, so we're glad to be in downtown. We just about walked down to the meeting, but we saw the clouds, so we thought, okay, we better drive. So in the office, I'm there full-time. Mark is there part-time. He also serves time in our Langford and Assistant offices. Brenda Waggy from Groton is a housing loan officer. She offices there. And then we have an intern from Northern that works part-time for us. And our offices are on the second floor. We share space with the Aberdeen Development Corporation. So invite you to come check it out anytime. We are hosting business after hours on June 17th. So I think there'll be probably be some open house tours, kind of things like that. Shaping up nicely. So that's kind of an overall kind of who we are, where we are. I'll let Mark talk a little bit about our housing and community development activities.
So specifically on our housing program, the majority of housing stuff that we do here is down payment or closing cost assistance. So typically they range anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. There is 0% loan. deferred until the payment, or you repay your house, you refinance your house, or you potentially move. And then we do direct housing lending as well. It's at 5%, 30-year and 7-year balloon. So definitely we encourage you to do traditional bank financing. However, maybe it could be a credit score issue, maybe it could be a qualified appraisal issue. So that's usually the typically housing items that we have done. Probably the biggest thing that we've done in 2020 is just emergency assistance. Like you, we have received a lot of federal funding coming down, specifically used if individuals have been affected by COVID. Specifically, it could be a loss of income, maybe even reduction in income, and so those could be used to help pay utilities, rent, medical items, and items like that. And we serve 242 clients, which is a sharp increase from that. We also sell the governor's homes of this area as well, and then we also do free home buyer education classes, which can be done online, and we are HUD certified. So if you're looking to do a home loan, especially if you're a home-time or first-time home buyer, you are required to get home buyer education.
As far as the economic development activity within the agency, Small Business Development Center is a big part of that. We provide technical assistance, so we're helping people that are starting businesses, buying businesses, expanding their businesses. We're not a financial lender. Grow has other services that Mark can talk about in that regards, but basically we're helping them get bank ready or funding ready and helping them do that financial feasibility to see if this project is, the right project for them at the right time for them. With regard to the pandemic programs, we did answered a lot of questions. We weren't directly involved in making any of those loans or processing any of those applications, but the Small Business Administration is where the federal funding for the SBDC comes from, so therefore they keep us pretty up to date on what's going on with their SBA programs, and so we try to pass that education on to business owners who could benefit from that. One of the other things that the SBDC is involved with heavily is the Big Idea competition. This year we had our 14th competition, and it was a virtual event this year. We still had our home base at Northern, and we had great support from Northern, as we always do with their media staff, to do it all virtually. We had all our testers coming in and doing their judging through Zoom, and then we had our final event with kind of a MC on stage at the Johnson Fine Arts Center. We brought in a speaker from the Minneapolis Federal Reserve to speak to the students, and as it would have it, this year we had an entrant from Virginia, Blacksburg, Virginia, who was a finalist, and he was able to compete because everything was online. Otherwise, in the past, we've always said, okay, you're a finalist, great, are you coming to Aberdeen for the final event? From Virginia, probably not, but this year you got an opportunity, so I think that opens up, we've always kind of looked at how we can expand that program, and with everybody, we've all learned new tools and found new ways to do things, and found, hey, maybe there's some of this that will continue on in the future. As far as business development financing, that's a big thing that Grow does as well.
Yeah, and first we always encourage people to check out all the grant options first. So Paycheck Protection Program, I think, was pretty simple. You definitely apply at your local bank, credit union, items like that. That application is closed, but if you applied for the EIDL loan or now the SBA Restaurant Revitalization Act, that's directly through the SBA. And so sometimes that can be challenging of trying to call a national number or items like that for technical assistance. And then for business lending, we have quite a few business loans in Brown County. Specifically, they're the new businesses. They're a little bit more of the riskier side loans, where banks are looking for diversification, or more of your rural Brown County, where taking loans in Frederick, some of those type communities, just a little bit more riskier because your comps aren't there, items like that. And so then, like Kelly said, we do have quite a bit of business lending in here. Right now our rates vary, but definitely have a lot of business lending left to do. Looking at our board members on some of those specific community or lending items on our lending side of the organization, Beth Smith and Pat Tollefson, and then Jody Zuger. And then on our finance committee, we have Daryl Ebach, and then Brian Smith, and then along with Cindy Walsh here in town.
I guess that's kind of what we have for a formal presentation. Our request for your 2022 budget would be $5,000. we'd be glad to answer any questions that you have, and again, thank you for giving us the time today to give you an update.
Where do the majority of your funds come from out of that? Is it 9.5 million? Where is that?
So it's a combination between mostly federal, state, and even some private funds too. Obviously, we do get funding from the counties here, especially in the northeastern part of the state, even though we do statewide. But a lot of them on the federal level come from like the SBA specifically, the Department of Treasury, USDA Rural Development, along with additional ones. But usually those primary ones as well, along with NeighborWorks America is another big one, and then the CSBG, which is more of the low-income side of the organization.
And depending on what program you're looking at, the $9.5 million invested isn't necessarily money that came to Grow, that Grow invested. It was maybe money or investments that Grow helped facilitate. And I'll speak to the FCDC specifically. The number that's listed there is more investments received by clients that we assisted. So a lot of that is going to be, commercial bank lending, public entity, public funding lending, or even investments that people have invested in their own business. That's how we count our economic impact for the SBDC. And each program kind of has their own little, how they count their economic impact. So.
And even with, like, for instance, the South Dakota Housing Development Authority got a lot of emergency assistance. Well, they don't necessarily have boots on the ground or offices located in specific parts of the county. And so we are the ones who are administering those funds for, recipients to get eligible to apply for those funding.
Governor houses, how do you determine that? Who has control of that? What is it? The annual governor's house, does that mean you place 9 of the governor's houses? Am I reading that correct?
Correct.
How many do you have access to, or is that limited by somebody that says, well, you get this many and this many go here? I mean, that was the question.
It's a first come, first serve, and then Happy does them to in town. So that's again run by the South Dakota Housing Development Authority, but we are the local rep. So if an individual wants to apply for a South Dakota governor's home to put it there, they work with Jim Becker in our office, and then he's the one that helps make sure they're income qualifying, make sure they have asset qualifying, and then just kind of work through the process of, is the foundation right, to try to make sure it qualifies.
Probably the biggest restriction is the ability for them to build the houses. I mean, a lot of times they're on a year wait to get a house. It's not but the state doesn't allocate them throughout the
So they don't
state.
say,
Whoever's ready to buy, if there's a house ready.
Well, that was my next question.
Yep. So they
How
don't
long
ever
does it
say-
take to get one of these?
It has been that long. I think it has been a lot less than that or a lot quicker than that, but it just depends on how many people are applying for the governor's house, depending on weight ranges. I know it used to be that high.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's a lot
haven't-
shorter
yeah.
now, but
And then just with supply chain issues that everybody's dealing with, you just never know.
The home repair for hire, hire us to do small construction stuff. Will you contract it out, a sublet it, or how do you?
So we do have a weatherization crew, and then primarily what they do is through the weatherization program, again, you have to qualify based on priority points, so it's income, families, items like that. There got to be a time where we had more staff than potentially weatherization homes to do. And so then to keep those staff employed, we had them do small construction jobs for hire in the community. Now, with that being said, with the federal funding going up, we're currently not doing that program as of the moment, but for some odd reason, if funds would dip again, we would do that.
Well,
Another way to be entrepreneurial within the organization.
You've answered my questions. I'm sure anybody else have any questions?
No, it's good information. I think 5,000 is where we were last year too, right? Or is that more?
I believe it was 5.
The paperwork here says 2,500, but we'll say 5. I'll go with 5.
Anything's subject to change.
Right. And, that money all gets invested back in the county. Those are used directly for the benefit of county funds, and the other benefit to the organization as a whole, because that's non-federal money, it can be used to leverage other dollars that the agency can bring in for greater benefit of the whole.
And the biggest thing is just even the referral side. Sometimes we can assist, businesses or clientele or, some of the low-income programs if we don't know, who needs those programs.
Maybe you said it too, but how many counties do you cover?
So that's a
Depends on who you
is. So we have
Because and what brought that question was Kelly making the comment that the 2,500 stays in the county, but I was thinking that this Grow South Dakota was a much bigger organization, and that you represent
It
more
is, it
counties
is.
out there. and
Yeah,
that-
we're talking about today specifically to Brown County, but,
So these numbers that you present to us here are strictly with
Yep.
what came within the boundaries of Brown
Correct.
County.
absolutely.
So when we first started, we had some original counties that we started with the NESCAC. And then we added NESDEC, which is more of our lending arm. And then kind of as the need growing, we took some of the programs statewide. So for instance, we could make a loan anywhere in the state of South Dakota for the business side, housing side, items like this. Some of this, like the governor's homes, we have specific counties we can only operate out of, because there's other organizations kind of throughout the state. So some of it vary by programs in terms of what counties we can and cannot do. And so I'd be here a while in terms of going over every program of what county we can and cannot operate. But Brown County, all programs are
Right.
eligible for South Dakota programs.
Good. Thank you for the answer.
Any other questions for Mark and Kelly? Well, thank you very much for bringing the information, and when we get ready to do our 2022 budget, we'll take this into consideration.
All right, thanks so
Perfect,
much,
thank
our pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
So we're gonna leave this folder here too with the...
Yep. I didn't know if we could maybe just leave it with the auditor.
Yeah, give it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good guy.
Next, we have Dave Lunsman, jail updates. I
Hi,
see
Dave.
Dave walk, there he is.
Good morning.
Morning, Dave.
All right. Couple things. First one was just for the jail update, and then afterwards, if you guys are so inclined, to have a few minutes in executive session on a security issue that I'd like to bring to your attention. So if you're up to that, that'd be great. If not, that's up to you guys, I guess. So first of all, obviously, we still have jail issues. The numbers are not any better. We did get a little creative with the state's attorney's help, and also with the judges, and we created a home confinement work release program. If you guys remember, we do not provide a strict work release program for the jail, and part of that is just because we had so much contraband, so much trouble, and it's extremely labor intensive to have people come in and out all the time. And there's no way our staff can keep up with it, plus the normal day-to-day activities. So we created we call it a home confinement work release program, which is exactly what it is. So that when somebody's sentenced, if the judge allows it, they can apply for this program, and if they're granted it, they fit all the criteria that we put out, they can literally stay home, have an ankle monitor, and go to work. That's it though. They go to and from their home to work and work to home. That's it. They don't go get groceries, they don't go to church, they don't go to weddings, they don't go to anywhere else, and we have an ankle monitor on them. That has been a Band-Aid approach. It's currently we have 5 people on that, so that's 5 people that did not go into the jail. At our peak so far has been 9 on the program, so that would have been 9 people we kept out of the jail. It's short term. Unfortunately, they mess up. They go to jail, actually their sentences are longer than an average sentence, so if they mess up, like actually our first person messed up on day 3, they had a 90-day sentence, so they ended up having to spend the rest of their time, which that person is still in our jail. So the good that it does, it actually can be bad if they mess up, because the days in jail are actually longer than their normal sentences because of that convenience. And they do pay a fee. They have to pay up front. They can't be late. We don't accept late payments. If they're late, they go to jail. So everything is paid up front, and it's helped, but it's short term. So we're hoping that at some time we can figure out a longer term solution, whether that be a new jail, something, which to alleviate our long term issues. Our populations are going up.
unfortunately, the jail population is still staying steady and increasing. But we know, and you've been through this speech before, I just want to make sure that it's on the front of your guys' minds that it's not going away. We're trying to do everything we can to push this out a ways, to give us some space before we just plain run out of room. The last time we had, on a 24-hour period, we had 24 people come into jail in 24 hours. That was incredible. Dade County was full and Faulkton was full. We had no place to bring them. So we were thankful that some of them got released. We got some other alternative programs in place, but how long can that? It's just kind of holding things up with a popsicle stick and hope that we can balance it long enough before it all crashes. So I want to make sure that you guys are very well aware where we're at and what we're trying to do to help out. Thankfully, the court system and the state's attorney's office on some of our bonds have allowed them to go on GPS also. We currently, as of just before I walked in here, have 12 people on GPS monitoring for releases. The good part about that is obviously less, they're not in our jail. The hard part is that GPS is more labor intensive than we think. It's not just put it on, go away, and if the computer says you went where you weren't supposed to, then we get alert. Sometimes people fidget around, they get, especially this time of year, it gets a little warm, they start messing with it, trying to move it around to make it a little more comfortable. There'll be an alert that comes to us, then we have to either bring them in or we have to go out and check that to make sure that it wasn't tampered with. So there are things that can cause us more labor in some respects than not. So I just wanted to make sure that you were up to date on that. Do you have questions about what we're doing?
I guess the only, and I think you kind of answered it too, is that somebody's got to be watching that when that alert goes off. And you've got to have, when you get 2 or 3 of them at the same time, that ties up people and away you go. Somebody's going to take off out of there, and so it puts a little extra stress on the staff too.
It does.
Yeah.
And the amount we're finding that just people coming in and going out, because they have to be checked a minimum of once a week, minimum, unless there's an alert.
Personal contact.
Yes, absolutely. And now every day they do check in at the PKT machines. We made it to where the ones that are not, even though they're good for 24/7, they're also good for this program. We don't have to have them come to the jail every single day and have a face-to-face. We're having them come over there at least once a day to check into the machine, because they're videotaped at that point, so that we know they were there. And if we need them to come to the jail for either a UA or just getting their ankle monitor checked, then it will give them a notice. You need to go to the jail. You need to be there. So they'll come on over, and then we send them on their way. But we're finding out that there's a lot of labor, but yet if we had all of those people in the jail, it would be a lot more labor too. So.
Are the self-service machines working out as well as you had anticipated?
Better.
Good.
Better. We've had only, and we still haven't figured it out, one individual that blew up the cell twice. How, we were unable to figure that out, but that was all replaced by the company free of charge as part of our current agreement. But beyond that, they've been able to come in. The clients are all happy because they can get in and out really fast. So literally within 1 minute to minute and a half, they can be in and out. They can do it on their, they don't have to stand in line. I don't even know if we've had a lot of more or less, fails. Kind of average.
People leave. It's an unsecured building, so they fail the first one and then they take off. And we got to do a warrant and go find them. So if in a perfect world, the door would lock behind them.
But it becomes an issue with that way too. And I don't know if we really had tons of problems though that you're aware of.
No.
I don't think so with that. So overall though, it flows real well.
Court system, are they pretty much on schedule now, or is that lagging? I guess the reason I asked that, I believe there was a conviction, and he was sentenced to Sioux Falls, and he said 257 days served. Well, that means 257 days he was in our jail. What, I mean, it seems to me like that's an awful long time. I guess I was just wondering, are the court systems that far behind, or
Yeah, this case is not moving along like they should.
is that getting any better? That's where I'm going with this. Because I mean, I thought 257 days served before he gets his conviction. I thought, wow, that's a long time to house somebody.
It is. It's a very long time. Now, granted, COVID didn't help us in any way, shape, or form. Now that's starting to break free, and I think that will help, but it takes a while, you know, to catch that up.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
On the executive session, do you want to wait until after everything else is done, or what do you want to do?
You're the last, Scott, did you have something for us? I guess then we could probably go into an exec. That's the last thing on our item is, you're the last thing on the agenda, so I guess we could probably call an exec for security reasons.
Yes.
Is security contracts, or is that, because
There's
is
that
security, was that added in legislative session? I think there's just a 3 reasons.
There's that
Personnel
list of
contract.
exceptions.
Okay,
under-
is security on there? I just want to make sure we're good.
I think so. At least we do.
Well, I would think
Yes,
you'd
it's
have
a new
to.
addition to the
That's
code.
what I thought, okay.
It would have to be, because you couldn't.
Well, it used to
disclose.
not be, that's new.
Well,
It used to
I'd
be
entertain a motion to go into exec for security.
Move
So
it.
moved.
Second.
Moved by
And I'd
Sutton.
like to add personnel and contracts.
Okay. Motion by Sutton, a second by Kibley, go into personnel, security, contracts, and personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in exec. We are out in exec, no action as a result. And then Jeanette, if you would go through your items.
Sure. Approve last week's minutes.
Move. Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Lees to approve the general meeting minutes of May 11th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims.
Move. Second. Moved by Fikert, second by Kipley to approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I don't think we have any HR report of fair contract.
Yeah, it's in
there. Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah.
I'll move it in the revised version.
Second.
We delete it. Revise what we get out of there. That's it.
We have a motion and a second. Was it Mike that you seconded? Yes. Second from Louise to approve the HR report with one revision.
And do you want a date on the other one? Or we just accept that next time?
I think the two would be announced. I don't think that has any bearing, does it?
Nope, but you want to do this also, don't you?
Okay.
Okay.
So we have an altered HR report. Do we
Somebody
have a
second
motion?
that?
Yeah.
Amended. Amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Fair contract, we don't have any. Next is appoint authorized representative for American Rescue Plan grant funding.
Is that Kathy? I didn't see anything on that.
Yeah, it's in
That's,
here.
We haven't had a,
There's a grant program here.
The auditor would be a logical appointee, in my opinion, if it's not.
Kathy,
What I say.
Are you the appointed authorized representative for the American Rescue Plan grant funding?
that's your guys' choice.
we didn't see the thing in there,
Oh,
we
it's
didn't
laying
know.
under
No,
here.
I didn't give him
I see it here.
I forgot I put that on there.
Would you be the logical
Is that it?
choice?
Me or the chair. You can have an authorized representative, which is going to be the person in charge of the entire grant. And then you can have a point of contact. So some counties it's the auditor, some counties it's the chair, and then the point of contact and the person doing all the work. Either way, the person doing all the work is going to be the auditor. So I'm fine with the authorized representative.
Just say yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Make
it.
those.
Make a motion, we appoint Kathy.
Yep, and this motion is because if we were to have this federal grant audit, they prefer to have a motion so they know exactly who is legally in charge of the American Rescue Plan.
And they are responsible anyway, right?
Yep, I'm happy to be responsible for the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, I lost track. Who made the motion?
I did.
Second. Second by Weiss. Appoint an authorized representative for the American Rescue Plan grant funding, and that is our auditor Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now that she knows the rules.
Doug says,
Lottery permit.
Move.
Moved by Biker, second by,
I mean,
motion by
Dwayne.
Sutton.
Sutton, and a second by Weiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Out-of-state travel request.
I'd move it.
Second.
Moved by Kepley, second by Biker to approve the out-of-state travel request. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Annual malt beverage license renewal.
Move.
Second. Moved by Piker, second by Weiss to approve the annual malt beverage license renewals. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We back up for just a second? I should have asked this, I apologize.
Okay.
The out-of-state travel request, the days prior to and after the conference travel time, is that considered official time then, since he's driving and not flying? Or is that vacation time? Because I think there's 4 days on either side allowed for traveling, if I did my math right. Do we pay him for
Please
traveling?
look it up.
I don't know if it addresses it.
I don't think it does either.
I don't think our travel policy addresses that question. Sorry, you guys, HR can discuss it.
So when
I'm
it comes,
just curious.
so like say if somebody were to go to Pier for training,
Yep.
that's work time. So
Yep.
they're work adjusting that time.
In my opinion, there's a big difference between a 2.5-hour
Yeah.
trip and a
Or with
4-day,
couple day
4-day
trip.
out-of-state conference. But if you look at the travel request,
Look at Arizona.
it's a 5-day conference, and I think he's looking at least 10 days off, if I remember right. So I'm just asking.
Or what you could do is take the time that it would cost to fly there. So the time that it would take to fly there, use that as time, and then if he's vacationing on the way there and on the way back, we're giving him a day for travel there, a day for travel back, and then the rest of the time vacation time.
I'm just wondering how we want to handle it. It just,
Well, the thing of it is, are you going to talk to him about it, or just subtract it from his vacation? I think he should be let know what we're gonna do.
Because he has the option to fly if he chooses to, correct? If it's
Mm,
a
right.
member,
Yeah.
and if you look at the mileage, I mean, that's probably going to be equivalent to an airline ticket anyway.
So that's why I say if you give him a day travel there, a day travel home, and then anything else would be vacation time.
So he'd have 2 days vacation, because he's got 4 now.
He's taking 4 days.
I don't remember how many days it is. Is it saying there, Rachel?
The time and date is the 21st through the 26th. And
That's
he
the
is driving
conference.
to Arizona and back for conference the 19th through the 29th.
He's gonna be pissed.
So it'll be 11 days.
Well, he may be pissed, but in my opinion, it's kind of a matter of fairness.
Maybe we don't take action this week, we just have Erica or the chair or somebody visit with Scott and then take action on it once we have a conclusion of when his
Unless
intention
nobody
is.
else is concerned, I just looked at the date.
Well, we need to have a policy for everybody, so if it's not, you know, it's gonna come up again, so.
Well, I don't remember when the last time was that we, approved a travel expense that's that extensive.
Right.
Involves that much time, probably there's something that needs to be addressed, but, I'm sure Scott's gonna be upset for the simple fact that he puts in a lot of hours and has always been disgusted because he is a department head and he's working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and now we're gonna let him take a travel request for training and then make him use vacation time. I mean,
Well-
he's gonna be...
Our policy right now does not address the issue, does it?
Not that specific.
Well, and we've already approved it, so rather than undo it,
Right.
I'm okay just leaving it, but I think it's something we should consider
Down the road.
for future reference.
Was he getting certification as part of this conference? He's
Oh.
attending a conference, but
Well,
it
you know
has
what I know.
discretion. It's
Yeah.
not something where, he's doing it to get,
It says it's
certification.
the Western Planners Association.
I mean, it's beneficial, but not a
Free.
required certification.
Right,
Yeah.
that's,
And I'm okay just leaving it.
beneficial, but,
Broad
you know, it's not like
coalition
it's a
professionals
required
with different
certification in
cultural
order to,
backgrounds and
continue.
lived experiences together provide a space to network and learn from each other. 700 planners from Western U.S. that talk about different experiences. Well, I
Okay.
guess I would amend my motion to approve it and just put reimbursing for the 20th through the 27th. That's the days of the actual conference, in addition to 1 day on the front and on the back end. Because if you were to fly, then we would cover, you know, a day for travel. And then making note that motel for those same days. If he's staying extra, then he can cover the cost. But I'm thinking he knows that, because the hotel is $1,200, so that'd only be like $100 a day. And I'm assuming if they're having it here, it's gonna be more than that. But yeah, so on my motion, it's covering the actual 1-day
1,200.
travel. Yeah.
Okay, so it says the county encourages its employees to exercise their best judgment in the use of travel allowances. Employees will travel by whatever method is most economical and practical to the county, with consideration given to time requirements and the destination of travel. Employees are encouraged to travel together whenever possible in joint county business.
Maybe that's why he was up here, so he was gonna talk to us about it. Do you want me to just call him quick?
I think transparency would be best in this case, yeah.
Just kinda
Is there a number of
Yeah,
miles,
yeah,
did it
yeah, you
say?
could absolutely have.
1,100, gas, 1,100 miles times 2, both ways.
2,200
Motion was made in a second.
times, is it 42 cents?
It's too late.
You can't make a motion to rescind the prior motion.
I
I think you can.
I think
while
we
you're
can.
in
You can amend it.
As long as you haven't
You
adjourned
have to
yet.
amend it.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, I'm
we're
gonna
still
put Scott on
in
speaker.
Okay, well, I was just concerned about that. I had never had this
It's once you
happen.
adjourn, you're locked
Oh, okay.
until next meeting.
I just wanted to check.
Okay, if a personal or private owned vehicle is used, odometer readings must be submitted for the mileage reimbursement request.
Hey Scott, it's Rachel. I've got you on speakerphone. So we're wanting to approve your travel to the conference. We just had a couple questions for you. Was driving versus flight? We're trying to figure out which parts is the county are going to be reimbursing the entire trip, or since you're driving, is there a couple days you're taking on your own?
Yes, I'll be taking some days on my own.
Okay. So would you be comfortable we are going to authorize, it looks like the conference is actually 21st through the 26th, we would authorize expense,
Rachel.
just a sec, we're,
Maximum allowable of 2 days each way for travel between post duty and business.
okay, is it a, are you going to take a county vehicle, Scott, or is it you taking your personal?
Mine.
Okay, so anyone driving a personal or county vehicle?
If I would fly, I would have to come in either the 20th or 21st, depending on what this flight in Aberdeen does.
Sure.
And then I would, the conference is over Thursday afternoon, so then, I mean Wednesday afternoon, so then I'd fly back on that Thursday. So them are the days that are county.
Sure.
And then the other ones, I'm not real fond of flying, so, and then I guess with COVID, it probably makes it worse, but I'm just not fond of flying, that's why I prefer driving.
Sure. Okay. Well, we were just reading for out-of-state travel, and you probably already know this, it's just anyone driving a personal or county vehicle out of state shall be allowed meals and lodging up to a maximum of 2 days each way for travel between the post-duty. So there's just 1 day we were questioning there. So 2 days would give you the 19th through the 28th, and you have the 19th through the 29th. So that sounds good. Did anyone else have questions?
I plan on leaving on the 19th in the afternoon, but this all depends on if we get someone hired and
Sure.
stuff like that.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking the call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
So then we don't really
I
have to
think
amend
leave
it?
it.
Amend it? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Was this one yours?
No, it's,
We got one.
No?
back. I'll
Yep,
just
go.
be happy.
Leases,
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton, to approve the leases. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
set public hearing date for PC revenue bonds refinance.
Move.
second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weeks, to set the public hearing for date of TC revenue bonds refinance or conduit only finance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Sheriff's report.
Move. Second.
Moved by Piker, second by Sutton, to approve the sheriff's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Janet?
And that will be it.
Okay, anything else come before the commission?
Regarding Kathy's email about putting in departments for slots for budgeting purpose, I really like that idea, and I thought it went smoothly last year. I think we should just have a schedule, say this 5 minutes. If they don't want to show up, if they don't have anything to say, great,
Perfect.
move on to the next one.
Yep.
Just have a schedule set for each department.
Yeah, so we have dates kind of set more in advance with the budget work sessions, and we can let the department heads know to be available.
Yep.
Sounds good. And
And
so
then-
you'll have that schedule like posted and we'll know?
I'll just email it out to department heads, and we'll kind of do them in order of the budget books, and they'll kind of come in.
Perfect.
If you want your heavy hitters to make an appointment at county commission, since they'll be spending, you know,
More money.
$4 million,
So like-
that's fine.
But that way they get a heads up so they can compare too.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds good.
Now, the dates, do you want me to set the budget work session dates for you, and just assuming you can show up, or do you guys want to set your dates together?
Put them out there and come as you can.
If it works, it works.
I think we do it right after commission, a
Yeah.
couple days.
Each day, each commission day, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
And follow them.
Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Piper to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.